Okay, so let's see that. Okay, so let's see that. I am just sharing again my screen. Okay, so then the next thing what we are going to see here, like a post installation steps. So see, this post installation steps is the steps once our production system is built by like our basis team, then we have to do some of the basic configuration, and this basic configuration is one time activity, okay, and first time activity, one time and first time. So this we call as a post installation step. Means once the installation is be done, then we have to do the activities. Okay, so in this activity these steps are there. So I just explain you what really it is, and then we show you in the system some steps. Let's see that. So the first step is like activating application in the client. So in this step, like what we are doing, by default system will be providing, like our GRC will have access control, process control, and risk management. Which module you want to utilize or activate, that switch is there, or that initial configuration is there. So we have to make one switch open, like access control, process control, or risk management. We'll see that. So the second step is like create RFC connection. So create RFC connection is from GRC which system we want to connect, that we call as a RFC connection or connector in GRC term. Okay, for example, like ECC we want to connect with GRC. So using GRC we want to create a ID in ECC. That's the reason we are connecting ECC with GRC. Okay, so that we call as a ECC to GRC as a connector. Then we have something called a connector group. So the purpose of the connector group, like if you have more than one ECC system, assume like if you have two ECC system, ECC1 and ECC2 in your landscape, and you want that the same naming convention has to be followed for both the systems. So if you are making them in the grouping, then it is easy for you to define one naming convention for one group. Correct? Sounds okay?
Yes, sir.
Similarly for the risk also. So if you have the same risk for both the system, because both are ECC, so you can define the same risk for both the systems. So you don't have to define one more new risk or risk rule set, right? So in that reason we can do this. But if you have the ECC and BW and then you don't have the same naming convention or same risk, so no purpose of keeping these two different systems into one grouping. Okay, then in that case you have to create two separate group and keep the respective system in that group, ECC for one group, BW in one group. Okay, then once you create a group, the blank group will be created, and then you have to add your system like ECC1 to the ECC group, ECC2 to the ECC1 group. Okay, so that you can add into that group. So here we are adding the system to the group. Okay, that this particular steps, what we are doing, we are defining what type of access control module we want to implement. Here the system, suppose we want to implement access control. Within access control, which sub module of access control you want to implement. So it's not mandatory that you have to install all the four. It's your choice which you want to implement. So for example, if you want to say that for your ECC system you want to implement like all the four sub module of access control, so we'll be adding all the like a system for all the module. We are connecting here, like you can say for ECC system you want to implement ARA, ARM, BRM and emergency access. We tell system GRC to understand that we want to implement all the four modules for our system. Okay.
Sir, one doubt. Suppose if you are installing all the modules and not using all the modules, it will be fine. Means, is there any difference?
No. Suppose you have all the four modules, and if you say that you don't want to implement BRM, assume for ECC system, right? So then if you don't implement BRM, then all the three module you can utilize it.
Okay, but while connecting means we can connect all four, right?
No, you can skip one connection for
Okay.
your BRM.
Okay, and if you are later on, if you want to connect
You
another one, which we
you
have,
can add that configuration
okay,
later.
okay, means it will be separate configuration later on.
Correct.
Okay.
Separate configuration only for that module, some module. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it.
So idea here is like, suppose assume like you have not implemented or not connected BRM initially. So maybe I'll take you to next BRM. So here common component setting integration framework, and then here is the place for.
So sorry, but your screen seems a bit like blur. This is only for me or everyone?
It is clear for me.
Okay, then
Clear
maybe
for
the
me.
issue with me.
Maybe just wait, maybe I will be little slow. Let's see. Now
Okay,
it's
fine.
refreshed to you, or is still blur?
Only this GI one is blur. Other is fine.
GI. ING, this one.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, I will change the font setting, maybe due to this it is not visible you properly, might be. I will just check it, okay, in a minute. So here coming to your question, like here suppose you don't want to implement BRM, okay. So normally what happened, if you want to implement BRM, so we have to tell system like we want to implement BRM for which system. So if you go to scenario link, so like we tell you we want to implement BRM for system 1, for example. The system understands that you want to use it. If you don't do this, you can't utilize BRM for your system. That is the idea.
Okay.
Okay. So later if you want to do the BRM later on, so what you can do, you can come here again and select your role management thing, and then add your system which you want, where you want to implement BRM. So here the system is nothing but connector for in our term. Okay. Suppose you want to implement S4HANA role creation process, so you can add your new S4HANA system here. Okay.
Okay.
Suppose you don't want to do the risk analysis for your training server, right? So training server, you don't want to utilize your risk analysis, so you can skip this configuration. Okay, so that is the idea. So even if you do implementation or do the configuration for all the 4 sub model, doesn't matter, it doesn't harm you. Okay, you don't utilize it, but you have the configuration. Something similar to your like your car. If you have the car, you have the sunroof window. If you don't want to utilize, it's there. What is the harm, right?
Okay, okay, got it now, yes.
Okay, so this we do here in this, and then like here you have the option for BC set activation. So BC set activation is like a pre-delivered program or values given by SAP. So if you want to utilize, you can utilize. If you don't want to utilize, you don't utilize it. For example, simple example, suppose the request priorities are there, right? Like a medium, low, high. If you want, you don't want to like add manually the request priority by you as a medium, low, high or very high. You can use SAP define. You just have to click on some BC set activation. Automatically system will add these 3 values for you in the system. Okay, that is nothing but one example of BC set. Understood?
You meant to say it will the like priority?
Priority is one example of BC set. Suppose in access request form. So here you have the access request form. One second, let me go to here. So in the access request form, maybe I think time is up, so we just do it again. We are logging to NWBC again. So once we have the brand new system, no? So what happens? Suppose here if you go to access request, and then here, yeah, okay, here the priority is not there. So if is anyway like assume like if you want to have a access request type here. So here you can see these many access request type is there. So initially if you see in the brand new system, you can't see any access request type here. Everything will be blank. Okay. So how this value is coming here, new account, change account, delete account, lock, unlock, super user, how it is coming here. So once you activate one BC set here, na, system will automatically fill this value for you. So if you, for activating a BC set, we have the transaction SCPR20, and if you go to GRAC and star, you can activate the BC set here. So this is for GRC for MSMP. Okay, and if you keep here GRAC means access control, and see that so these many BC sets is available for all the 4 sub module of access control. So means GRAC access means it is related to the access control or request, you can say, from here to here. Then what you can say for GRAC RA means it is for risk analysis. Okay, from here to here. Then whatever you can see for GRAC role management, this is for BRM, and whatever you can see for SPM is super user privilege means emergency access BC set. So here take example, for example here, so it is like a criticality level of your emergency access. So you can utilize the criticality level which is given by SAP, or you can add by your own. Okay. Similarly, like request priority or request type is there. So if you see the request type, so if you activate in the brand new system, what it will do, so if you go here in this help kind of thing, so if you click here by selecting your request type, it will provide you the information what really this BC set will do. So you can see here these many request type number is there, 1 2 3 4 5 6, and if you go down it will give you the description. So one meaning the new account, change account, delete account, unlock account, super user. So these request type is related to the access request, right? So this will be added in the access request automatically, all the one from here to here. Okay. So that is happening once you activate the BC set. Now it's okay.
Yes, sir. What is the transaction you said?
SCPR20.
SAPR20?
No, SCPR20.
Okay.
That you can remember, maybe SC means Supreme Court, P1 means personal request 20.
Okay. Sir, this will get covered while like we will go ahead then, right?
Yeah, this is just giving you hint. We will show
Okay.
practically from the beginning anyway. So it is just a idea for you like what we are doing here, and then some of the workflow related initial setup we will be covering here. Like, so to standard workflow has to work, we have to do some setting. That is mandatory to do the settings. So that also you will see later like how to do this. But right now we are just going to cover you some of the part like from here to here today, and then that will be the today's class. So let's see that quickly. So how to do this, and by the way everything is mentioned here, okay, not to worry. Like if you scroll through the, like you can find where we do the configuration in that place, and then from here you can see activating application in the client. So you go to this path, come here, a path of the screenshot is there in SPR, or you can go here, and then once you click on activate application in the client, it will ask you to new entry, and then you mention here access control, process control, risk management, and activate it. So those is mentioned here with theory a little bit. So creating connector, how to create a connector in this path you have to go, or from here you can go, and then creating connector, how you can create. Okay, so this you can follow and see from here, and but I will show you right now directly into the system where it is. Okay, so the first step is like activating application in the client. So you go to SPRO. Mukta, you can feel difficulty, na? Let me just do some changes here in the font size.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's make it bold maybe. Korea new. Okay, so let's see that maybe a little better maybe. Is it okay or still blur?
Still same for me. I am not sure what is the issue.
Okay. So is it maybe you can do one more thing also, like maybe in your system, na? Like in your like Google Meet, maybe you can change this to like a full view. Maybe just try it one more time.
Okay.
Now it is better
Yes.
somehow.
Now seems better. Yeah.
Okay. So let's see that. So governance, risk and compliance. So the first option is like activate application in the client. If you use this option, so here access control, process control. So by default it will be like that only. So what you have to do, suppose you want to implement access control, so make a checkbox here and save here. So and then if you save into the transport, either you can create your own or use the existing one. And if you say okay, that means the first step is done. You want to activate the access control. Fine.
Yes.
So I am activating all because some other people is using same system, then they will be having problem. Okay. So then the next step is creating a connector. So to creating a connector, like we have to come to common component setting, integration framework, and then we have the option to create a connector here. So if you click on create connector, then the system which you want to connect, it is a SAP ABAP system. So you come here, click on create, and once you click on create, it is asking the RFC name. So any name you can give. So I'm just giving some name, 400 CLNTS4. Okay. So any description you can give, and here is the place for target host and instance number. So means from GRC which system you want to connect. So see, this is our GRC system. A4H is always GRC, and don't confuse with this. A4H for GRC and GRC is S4HANA. Okay, that is somehow description is they have not maintained correctly, but this is for your S4HANA system. So copy this. Okay, this is your application server, and then paste here, and then your instance number is there. The instance number is 21. So copy here the 21. Okay, and then you go here for logon. So see, like we have given that instance number for S4HANA, and then what we are doing here, like from GRC is going to ping this ID, this address and this number, so he is able to reach to that system. Okay, like S4HANA system, but he has to log into that system. So for to log into this and getting insight into this system, he need the user ID password. Okay, so what we have to do, we have to log into this ID with as an administrator, and then we have to create one RFC ID or system ID. Okay, so this system ID will be used.
Hello.
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 Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
सर लक्ष्मी बोलत आहे. काल ॲड्रेसचा फोटो पाठवला होता, बघितला सर?
I will call you. Okay, so here we have to create one RFC ID. So this RFC user will be a user which is something called a system or communication user. So go here and select here, for example, system, and give some password, like I'm giving welcome 123 for example. And then here we also giving some profile as well. So for example, SAP all and SAP new, and we are saving it. So the idea here is now we use the same ID and password in GRC for RFC connection. So we use the RFC user ID here and welcome 123. So why we are doing here these thing connection means we are establishing a connection between GRC and S4HANA system with this user ID and password. The reason is whenever we are raising a request for this system, this is nothing but the name of the system. Okay, so system is GRC is able to recognize with the name. So once we are raising a request for this system, it is nothing but reaching to this system and getting insight to this user ID and password and get insight to that system and create a ID there. Okay, so with this path it is going. So if you see in ECC system or S4HANA system, you can find
Just one query.
Yeah.
Requests will be any request, kya? I meant to say user creation, no, otherwise firefighter request.
yes,
or only
any request will be processed by this user ID. Okay,
Okay.
because with this ID only GRCs get insight. That is the meaning. And if this user doesn't have the user creation access, your GRC is not able to create any ID in that system. So this ID, that's what this ID should have, the proper access. Okay. And in the change log also, like if you go to this system and then see the change log, if a GRC is creating any ID, this name will be visible.
So by default, we assign SAP all SAP new, or are there any kind of roles that are provided by GRC to be assigned to these kind of default IDs?
No, normally like not SAP all and SAP new we assign. But what really we do, we can create a role with the same profile and assign to that, and remove maybe some of the finance transaction or finance authorization object, right? And some of the HR authorization object, and give that to a user. This RFC user. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So this part is okay with everyone. How we created a connector now. And then once you create a connector, then you can test also. You can test your connection test. whether it is working. So if it is everything green, it's working. And also you have to do the authorization check in the utility. Go to authorization test. So if it is green, yes or no red, then it's good. Okay. So this is your first check always. Once GRC is not working, so first check your connector is fine, your access is fine. So that you have to check. Suppose this ID is locked, for example, right? So then GRC is able to ping that system, but he is not able to get inside because the ID is locked by which he is getting inside the system. So if you do here the utility and test here, the authorization test, system will give you the message, password is incorrect, repeat login. That means GRC is not able to log into this system. GRC is able to reach it, but not able to log in. Okay. So if you unlock it and then do the retest, you are able to get inside. Okay. So this is like your first step. So once your first step is there, done, then what you have to do, I just copy this. So any name you can give, it doesn't matter that I just given this name just to say. So maintain connector and connector type. So this second step will be like you have to select your system like SAP system and then click on define connector. So here what really we do, here we have to click on new entry and then we have to keep your target connector, source connector and logical port is same ID and the connector type, for example, like SAP. Okay, so this we have to add here. So always remember the target system and the logical port is same, but this source connector may vary. Okay, so it can vary in the sense like if you have suppose the LDAP connector, so you want to tell that whenever any user is requesting access in ECC, your LDAP has to be checked. So our LDAP will be your source connector, right? So in that scenario, it could be the LDAP connector then instead of source connector. Since we don't have LDAP or HR system, then we can use the same system as your source connector. So just save this. And then we have to create a connector group here. Okay, so connector group, like we can create a blank group. Remove this blank entry.
Sir, I have a still query regarding the source connector.
Yeah.
Which exactly connector we need to provide?
Yeah. See, if you don't have the LDAP system or your HR system as a system, so think in simple manner. Like suppose if one new user joined in your organization, right? So what is the first ID, where the first ID gets created? So if suppose the user is joined and then first his ID gets created in SAP HR system, right?
Okay, so where we can check that if you want to check if it is already connected?
In SPRO itself, no? Here in the define. So if you see here, define connector. So here if you find it is a HR system, suppose here instead of SAP somewhere, if it is a HR system you can find, or if it is a LDAP system, so you can see here, one second. So here you can see the connector type is LDAP, right?
Okay.
So this system is your LDAP system, right? So this connector you can use as a source system for your this system creation. Assume like it is a LDAP system, right? So what you really do, you can copy here and change this to LDAP connector. So what will happen, as soon you are raising a request for this system and giving the ID username, first name, last name, email ID will be taken care from here, this system itself. It will auto populate the field in your access request form.
Okay, you mean to say any user ID will not get created, which is connected with the, for example, Active Directory or LDAP, that only will get created.
Correct. So that's the kind of correct validation. So like
Correct.
if suppose somebody is asking to give me access in ECC production system, but his ID doesn't exist in your LDAP system, means he doesn't have the window NT ID, and he is asking the ECC production system, that is not correct ID, right?
Correct. Got it. Yes.
Or in simple manner, if the user is not hired, so if it is not hired, that means his HR system doesn't have hold any record, right? And then he is asking you to create an ID in production system, which is not good, which is not correct.
Correct. Suppose if you are not maintaining that source connector, means if you are keeping blank, then system will allow to go ahead or not?
No, at least you can keep one system as a source connector.
Okay, if you are like maintaining wrong, then maybe like any XYZ user ID may got created, may will get created, right?
Yeah, system will not give you the warning
Oh.
or the error message that user doesn't exist in the source connector
Okay, got it.
or source system. Fine, everyone?
Yes.
Okay, so I just change back to the same. Then we are creating a blank group here, define connector group. So we have to click on new entry. So I just created one blank group here now, and then we already have the connector, but we have to link that connector here in this group. So once we create a connector group, so we click on this next step, assign connector to the connector group. So we are connecting the system in this group logically. Okay, so you have to select logically only. So here first one is for process control, and second is logically, and it is for the cross system group. So if you want to define a cross system risk, then only you have to come here. Otherwise, if it is two different systems, then you have to use like a logical grouping. Okay, and this we are not using at all. So use logical grouping, and then you have to, once logical grouping is selected, then save it, and then go to the next step, assign connectors to the connector group. So if you click here, you can see this group doesn't hold any connector, doesn't hold any system. Click on new entry and add your system here. So if it is one system, then you can add one system here and press enter and save it. So like in this group right now one system is there. If suppose you have one more ECC system, if you want to club together, so you can select another system also as a grouping. Okay, fine. So you
Yes.
can define the naming convention on this group. So for either you create role in this, or either you can create a role in this. So same naming convention has to be followed. So I'm not creating it, but I'm just giving you the hint. So this three things is okay with everyone. Any query?
No.
So see, these from here to here we have covered so far. Okay, and then the BC set activation. So BC set activation also I will just tell you how it is. So to activate the BC set activation, like Supreme Court personal request and 20, then if you go here in this transaction, here you can keep a GRAC star, and then if you activate this, you can activate your PD delivered value. So what really you have to do, you have to select this and click on activation. Then it is asking transport request. We are normally select this, do not override default value in expert mode, but in first time you can use anything, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so it will not overwrite any value, existing value, if it is already exist, but if it is not exist, it will add this entry and the activation happens. That's all. That is a simple way to activate. So maybe the homework for you, like you activate these BC sets, maybe do all the configuration, not only this. So but this is like a homework for you. Okay. And here if you see, like we have to activate the BC sets, all the BC sets, and especially for ARA. So here like risk analysis things are there. So the risk analysis thing, we don't have to activate all of them, because suppose if you say GRC rule set for Oracle, so like why to activate the rule set for Oracle if the Oracle system is not connected with your GRC system, right? So what really it contain the SOD commands for Oracle. Okay, so if your system itself is not connected with Oracle, even if you activate it, doesn't harm you actually. It just adds some spaces in your GRC server. Otherwise, it's okay, right? Similarly, if you have the PeopleSoft connected and you want to do the risk analysis on a PeopleSoft system, so all the PeopleSoft command will be there in this rule set. Similarly, for S4HANA system, if you are connecting S4HANA system and then you want to do the risk analysis for central hub, then you can go here. If you want, embedded one, then go here. If you want to go for central hub where front end and back end is different, then you can do separately for these two systems. Similarly for APO basis, another one, or CRM system, HANA DB system if you are connecting, HR system, SRM system. So like that you can activate. Okay, so that's the one for today's, and you have any question, let me know. So these two steps we'll see on Monday. Okay, from here like we set activation again and workflow initial setup, but from here to here, any query?
Sir, how we can practice this? You are going to provide
Server access, yes.
yeah.
I'm going to provide you this access, so this system will be shared with you, and this system you can log in with the remote desktop. Okay, so like you have to go to your remote desktop. If you keep here like a remote desktop like this, or so that it will open, it is pre-installed on the Windows machines. In case only Mac, if you have the Mac, then you have to install separately like remote desktop connection software. And then once it is there, then you keep here the IP address, user ID and password. I will provide you. And then once you give that user ID password, for example like this, you are able to get insight to the server, remote desktop server, where you already have like you already have your desktop where SAP logon pad is there, and I will provide you this user ID password to get insight, and then you can use it in practice anything, whatever you want to do. You have full access here.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so that's the thing. Any further question? Sulekha, anything from your side or?
Yes, sir. Means, is it possible to record this session, because it
No.
maybe happen one day I'm not able to join, then I can refer the recording later on. That is why.
No, really, because we are working, and it is a risky thing.
Okay.
So that is the only reason. So if you miss one lecture, we'll repeat anyhow, like in the next lecture, the important part of it. Any practical thing especially, we'll definitely going to repeat again. Okay, that we can do.
Okay, sir. And sir, what will the timing for weekdays?
7:45 a.m. to 8:45 every day, 5 day a week.
Okay. Is there any change possible in time?
No, change is not possible. Change is not possible.
Because just a small doubt.
Yeah.
We are going to see this again in depth later, or what is just the overview?
No, so till this part is, yeah, that's how we do.
Okay.
So this is not in depth, in the sense like this is the thing initially, like I just told you in theory, like why it is required, and then the same thing I just shown you in the system now.
Okay, so I didn't get the BC set activation. Why it is?
So
What is that?
this will be covering. Yeah, this will be covering in the Monday class. Don't worry about this. So we just explained you, but we are not activated all the bases, but we'll be telling you again, everyone. Okay. So consider from this part to this part. If you have any question, you can ask me, or anyone if you have a question, you can ask me. So anyone, Surekha or Mutta?
No, sir, till now. Once we'll do the practice now, maybe that time we'll get some queries.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. No problem. Okay, then that's all for today's, and we'll be meeting Monday 7:45 to 8:45 a.m. and I will be sharing the link in some minutes, and sharing the mail also, in case like if you are facing difficulty to find the link, so at least you have the link in your mailbox, you can utilize this. Okay. Okay, then